one player who is thriving and who I didn't get nearly enough in draft season, maybe understandably, Cody Bellinger. Of course, the Dodgers non-tendered him during the offseason. The Cubs scooped him up. Bellinger has homered in back-to-back games over the weekend against the Marlins, now up to 7 home runs on the year. Has a 297 batting average, 976 OPS, also 4 for 5 in stolen base attempts. And this isn't a fluky thing. Bellinger is making contact. His contact rate is at 81.4%. The strikeout rate is at 16.2%, which is basically in line with his MVP season. Chase rate down. All the indicators you want to see that he's figured some stuff out, really turned back the clock with his approach. Been super impressive so far.
This is a really fun team. I don't have any Bellinger.
Yeah.
The Cubs currently stand second in average, second in on-base percentage, fourth in slugging, and I think they're in the top 10 in stolen bases. So I have some pieces of this lineup. I have some Horner. I have some Swanson. I have some Suzuki. But Bellinger, I kept looking at Bellinger, and I kept looking at, I can't think of the Brewers MVP, Christian Yelich, who I always link those two guys together.
Yeah.
And every time it was time to draft one of them, I just didn't. I got cold feet. I walked away, and Bellinger looks like one of the right answers. Look, we know. I never thought that much about when he really hit the skids with the Dodgers. People like, oh, they solved him. He can't hit the back foot slider. Nobody can hit the back foot slider. It's a nasty pitch. You know, I don't expect any left-handed hitter to really handle that. You just have to try to lay off it if you can. But the age was always on his side. He got to change of scenery at the right time. He's not going to be – the pace he's on right now is probably unsustainable, of course. Nobody thinks he's going to hit 40 home runs. But I would think by the end of the season, we're going to look back at him as an ADP beater, and I feel regretful that I didn't get in on that. A team that I was open-minded to, you know, that's what I get from being friends with Sarah Sanchez, a great baseball writer who covers the Cubs so closely. She should be on the payroll. But she got me into a bunch of Cubs this year, and that's good. Unfortunately, Bellinger was not one of them. I take full blame. It's not Sarah's fault. But just happy to see a guy. It's when you see somebody lose it, right? It's sad. It's mentally draining. Nobody enjoys it, and I'm just happy for Bellinger that he's back to being a bona fide major league hitter again.
Yeah, and he's one of the leaders for that team too, which is a good role for him and the experience that he's had. I definitely got a lot of Nico Horner, which I'm thrilled with. Ian Happ as well ended up on a lot of my rosters. The Cubs are an interesting team. As for Bellinger's former team, the Dodgers, they are reportedly calling up prospect right-hander Gavin Stone to start Wednesday against the Phillies. So we have Harper coming back Tuesday. The top prospect pitcher Gavin Stone making his debut on Wednesday. Stone was a name that we got acquainted with during spring training. He struck out 14 batters over 6 2/3 scoreless innings. Had a bit of a rough start to the season in AAA, but his last 2 starts have been really good. 15 strikeouts, allowed just 1 run in that time. I think as far as fantasy is concerned, there is some concern that this is a one and done type of situation where they're just building in extra rest for their starters. Dustin May, still hasn't had a big workload after his Tommy John surgery, so they're building in some off days when they can. So there's a chance maybe this is one start. But if you look at Noah Syndergaard, not so great so far this season. His start yesterday was serviceable enough if you look at the box score, but just 3 swinging strikes for the whole entire start. Didn't even register a strikeout and had 2 strikeouts or fewer in 3 out of his 4 previous starts. So I don't know. I think Syndergaard could be pitching for his job here in the coming days. And Stone is a name I think maybe in the short term in a shallow league you don't pick him up, but I think he's a name to watch throughout the season.
Yeah, this rotation's in flux. I'm really curious to see what Tony Gonsolin does when he gets stretched out. He's making 2 starts, at least on paper, this week. There's Stone, I'm a little concerned about the control. 3.1 walks per 9 in the minors. He's walking about 4.5 per 9 in his brief time at AAA. Of course, it's hard. Anybody in the PCL, it's just hard to know what those stats mean sometimes because it's such a hitter-favoring environment. But, man, the Dodger team, it's so weird. I know they've had guys have gotten hurt. They've had paternity leave. Times they've been batting Jason Hayward third and Chris Taylor fourth. Like, what happened to the rest of the team, right? This is a minor league B game. Just why is Jason Hayward even playing, let alone batting third? And Kershaw seems like one of the few stories that's working out for them so far. But I did not pick up Stone anywhere. But at least he has the strikeout upside. He has some pedigree. I can at least see the case for it. He didn't seem to fit some of the rosters I was making fab bids on this weekend, so I don't have any of him. I'll watch him with interest. But as you said, it wouldn't be a surprise if he only makes the 1 or 2 starts and then he's back down in the minors.